to this special show on ET Now. Now, a few months back, over 50 leading investors in India, 40 startups came together for a very unique initiative. This was called the Action COVID Team Grants, or the ACT grants. The idea was to set up a 100 crore grant that would fund products and services related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, 3 months on, how has the response been so far? What kind of effort has gone into this? What kind of ideas are they funding? To understand more about this, we have three people who are part of the ACT grants team. We have Nachiket Mor, who needs no introduction, from veteran banker to the former director of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to being part of the leadership team at ACT Grants. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for being part of this panel. We also have Prashant Prakash, the founding partner of Axel, which is, of course, India's leading venture capital firm with a string of successful investments and exits. We also have Abhiraj Bhal, the founder and CEO of Urban Company. Now, Urban Company, in the last few weeks, you would have seen various people posting pictures of their ACs getting serviced at home and people getting haircuts at home. So if you're wondering which entrepreneur is driving that, that's Abhiraj Bhal. So thank you, all three of you, for being part of this special panel on ET Now. Dr. Moore, I want to start with you. From the time you came up with this idea of ACT grants, it's a very unusual alliance collective. You managed to pull so many people together to now. What has been the response? How many ideas have you been able to fund? What kind of area?
So frankly, the idea was not mine. I was, more somebody that joined because they were looking, in the group to add somebody that had more of a public health background. It was not from any one of the startup or investment sectors. But when I was asked, I was quite pleased to join. It was a committed, passionate group of startups, investors that came together to build this effort together. It was early days of the crisis. Nobody knew at that point, and I must say it's prescient of smart venture capitalists like Prashant and businessmen like Abhiraj, that they saw that this thing would actually explode beyond what everybody had thought. So really coming together, putting this in place. And the response, I must say, has been just tremendous. Hundreds of ideas that have been submitted to us. And what has been remarkable, to be really honest with you, has been the tremendous group of volunteers that have come together. Because each idea is a good idea, is a powerful idea. It needs to be evaluated carefully, understood carefully. It's been a remarkable effort to try and see. I'll request some of my other panelists to talk about the exact numbers, but I've certainly, coming in as an independent, been very pleased with the progress I've seen.
Right. Prashant, if you could take us through some of the specifics in terms of,
Yeah, so just to add to what Nachiket was mentioning, we have received over 1,600 applications till date, and we have invested in about 49. We have given grants to about 49 of those initiatives, close to about 50 crores till date. So that's the high level, the numbers so far.
Right. Prashant, can you take us through the areas, you mentioned 49 grants that you have given. Would this be in, say, telemedicine, the protective safety gear, or mental wellness, or, home care providers? Are these new startups, existing startups? Some kind of details there would be great.
Yeah, so interestingly, it's been a wide range of organizations that have come together, Chandra. So you have organizations that are just a group of two individuals or through two founders just coming together. They didn't even have a company. So we have given them a grant to really get the company started, and within a week, I have the solution and take it to market and work with government. So you've had that situation. Then you have smaller startups or mid-stage startups who have actually repurposed their capabilities and their offerings and made them something that would really work. A good case in point would be a lot of the companies that had capabilities to work in the apparel space, so repurpose themselves to become PPE providers. And then we have the third category, which are where we had large platforms and very seasoned entrepreneurs like Mukesh, who had the capability to pull together a very big consortium like Swasth. And that consortium today has brought together a very sophisticated teleconsultation solution that pulls together many, many elements to make it actually sustainable and work in our country for many, many years. So it's a wide-ranging set of solutions, starting with on the prevention side, triaging calls from 104 or 108 numbers, whatever the different states have. Then we have significant amount of effort that's gone into test kit development, where a good chunk of the testing being done in the country is somewhere influenced by the companies that we have supported. We then have also supported collection of samples for testing in very complex situations, whether it is through mobile testing or these kiosks. Then I mentioned the PPE gear, but I think of late we are starting to see the demand really in managing and complementing the health capacity challenges that we have in our country. And I think we'll have some of Abhiraj and Nachiket talk a little bit more about that. And then finally, awareness building. So we have funded companies that have provided awareness across various issues, whether it's about wearing a mask or the stigma of testing and so on. And we have reached about 100 million plus people have been influenced by some of these awareness campaigns.
Right. Abhiraj, thank you for that, Prashant, and I am going to follow up on the Swasth part separately. But Abhiraj, overall, if I look at this, it's been a tipping point of sorts for urban companies. From the initial weeks of the lockdown where everything was shut, to people kind of gaining confidence to get some of these products and services home. So do you see more such ideas emerging during the lockdown? What have you been telling other entrepreneurs in terms of the ideas they can build on? Because on the one hand, we hear so much of gloom and doom about how startups are running out of cash. They have runway of just about 1 to 2 months. But could this also be an opportunity for a whole new paradigm to emerge?
Yeah, so I think, in this forum, I would like to talk about ACT, because I think all of us have come together to represent ACT. ACT, just to put things in perspective, is a combination of more than 100 independent volunteers who've come together from the startup ecosystem founders like myself, from the venture capital ecosystem, people like Prashant, and independent people from the public health space like Nachiket. And the whole fund, which is a 100 crore fund, is a grant fund. So the capital has come from personal contributions of all of these individual organizations. Even the venture capitalists who have given this money, it hasn't come from their limited partners. It has come from their own personal contributions, as in the case of the founders or the independent. So the whole 100 crore corpus is independent individuals contributing in their personal capacity. And all of this money is going to be deployed as grants, philanthropic grants to various companies. It means the common theme across these organizations being that they are force multipliers in the fight against COVID-19. So they have some kind of an innovation that they have been able to identify, which could scale up fast and which could become a force multiplier. So for example, many of the state governments have leveraged solutions which are funded by ACT for quarantine management and hotspot management. So we have a company called Infinite Analytics, which helps state governments look at, the 100 plus containment zones that they might have, and then be able to say, hey, these containment zones are red because people are going in and out of them, and they're not being managed as effectively. These are yellow and these are green. We have solutions like Intuigene, which is a home quarantine solution, where if somebody is suffering from COVID or has just returned after a travel and needs to be quarantined at home, then the solution helps the state government know, after prior permission from the individual, whether they have left the vicinity and they are traveling out or they are actually maintaining the quarantine. We've given a grant to Potia, which is a company which is helping state governments with recovery of patients at home. So 80% of COVID patients will be asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, and they can recover at home, but they need a solution where somebody checks in with them on a daily basis, knows how they are doing, and if in case things escalate, then manages to take them to a hospital. So Potia is doing that. Prashant mentioned about our efforts in testing, etc. So the common theme across all of the 50 plus initiatives that we have given grants to is innovation. We thought that while there is a lot of good work and good philanthropic work that is being done in the space of COVID, grants which are funding innovation is a white space, and that's the white space that ACT is trying to fill up.
Right. Abhiraj, it's interesting. 50 VC firms, 50 startup entrepreneurs who would otherwise, ideally be competing with each other, coming together in these circumstances, collaborating. Do you see this, lasting over a longer period of time? I mean, will you perhaps look at extending it, or even increasing the corpus because you are getting more interest? Or was this more of a short-term measure, in the aftermath of the pandemic, something that you thought should be done, say, for a 3 month, 6 month?
I think that's a great question, Chandra. And I think one of the things that I'm personally very proud of is how the ACT initiative and the ACT grants has been able to get almost everybody from the ecosystem together and on the same platform. This is first of its kind globally. An ecosystem has collaborated, which otherwise would compete. I think while we had started off with a very sharp focus on COVID-19, and we continue to be very sharply focused on COVID-19, somewhere we do feel that ACT as a platform has been able to bring everybody together to contribute in an effective fashion. And even once COVID-19 is behind us, the platform should continue to do good work in other philanthropic spaces.
Right. That's an interesting point. It'll be interesting to see how all these diverse interests kind of come together and take it forward. But Dr. Nachiket Mor, I just wanted to ask you a question about a recent piece that you wrote in Brookings, I think, which is that the European response cannot apply in India, that we will perhaps have to leverage communities and primary healthcare centers and focus on more efforts on how to isolate people at home, because the hospitals will get overwhelmed very soon. We are already seeing this happen in cities such as Mumbai. So is the focus of ACT grants also towards funding such initiatives, which will help people stay at home, quarantine at home, isolate at home? Tell us a little about that.
So the focus of ACT's work, and I want to separate that from my personal positions of public health and public health advocacy, has very much been to be responsive to government. If the government saw a need for PPEs, saw a need for ventilators, saw a need for isolation, to use Abhiraj's very nice phrase, to act as a force multiplier. But also, edges, be prepared for new ideas that might be in the horizon, which may not be, for example, if we felt that there was a home quarantine solution or home isolation solution that made sense, the government was interested. If the government is not interested, we would not move forward. But if the government is interested but doesn't want to take the risk that it won't work with its own money, then ACT has stepped forward and say, okay, we will fund this initially, see how it goes. Something similar we have done when we looked at, for example, ICU capacity. Government recognized that it needs ICU capacity, but doesn't have all the team and the paraphernalia needed to manage this capacity. So working with Cloud Physician to do a tele-ICU solution. Again, initially the government may say, well, we can support it once it grows, but right away, can you show us that it works? So that's really where, our focus has been.
Right. Prashant, one of the initiatives that you mentioned, of course, is the Swasth telemedicine app, and that's likely to be a game changer. It could do to healthcare what UPI did to banking and financial services as we know it. But how do you really counter, concerns of conflict of interest? Because some people who are part of ACT grants are also part of the Bharat Health Stack, which is running Swasth. So how do you kind of define this and, separate the issues, kind of ensure there is governance and transparency?
Yeah, so just the IC that makes some of these decisions, we have a broad-based IC now of about 8 to 9 people, Chandra. So it's so we have independent folks like Nachiket, we have Irina Vitala. So we have a very broad-based IC, and the situations where we had such a conflict, the conflicted parties recused themselves. Okay, so that's in terms of how the IC has functioned. But it's important to understand that BHS or Swasth that they're running is a Section 8 company. It's a not-for-profit company, right? So the idea here is to provide some solution that is long-lasting for healthcare in this country. And so there is no, ulterior profit motive which will benefit, 1 or 2 people who otherwise are running other companies where some of us are involved with, right? So this is a very separate initiative, not for profit, which can be a disruptive game changer for healthcare in this country. So we don't see this as necessarily a conflict.
Right. Prashant, a follow-up question that I had for you, something that I asked Abhiraj as well, and he said that, he hoped that even beyond the pandemic, this will continue to be a collaborative platform, and about also how it's the first of its kind globally. So how do you really envision the future of ACT grants going forward as someone who's sort of been driving it from the front since inception?
Yeah, so while we are really focused on the current and the immediacy of working with the governments and being a backbone for the governments to solve, like Nachiket was saying, we are like an incubator, right? We quickly incubate solutions for the government, and the government can then accelerate some of these in different stages as they find it necessary. So that's kind of the immediate part. But while we are doing this, like Abhiraj said, we are seeing a lot of innovation that's happening. And while this might not be a prescribed byproduct of, that we have set aside to do, but you might find companies in healthcare, companies with technology that, become very, very meaningful, innovative companies post-COVID and continue to make devices, make, some of these solutions more broadly commercially available. That's definitely a possibility. So, and there are 1 or 2 companies. There's a company which, Nachiket was mentioning about this whole ICU capacity, and one of the devices that really makes a big difference in ICU beyond a ventilator is a machine called an HFNC machine, right? A high flow oxygen machine. And there was no real capacity in India to manufacture them. And we have funded a company called Inaxel, and they, I think, can provide a very cost-effective solution, which where beyond helping India in the next few months and 6, 9, 10 months, maybe a company that can expand in scale and export these machines. We don't know, right, what the possibilities are. But yes, some of the companies that we fund, the byproducts could even surprise us in the future.
Right. Abhiraj, as an entrepreneur yourself, what would your advice or tips and tricks be to entrepreneurs who are perhaps, hoping to seek a grant from ACT? What should they focus on? What should their pitch essentially be?
I think if any team, has an innovative solution, which is at the heart of the battle against COVID-19, this could be from prevention and awareness building, to testing, all the way to hospital capacity augmentation and ICU capacity augmentation, they should write to us. They should let us know about their innovative solution. At this point of time, the areas where we are focusing on are around home quarantine management, so helping people recover at home. Oxygen therapy, this is an important area which has emerged. So before a ventilator, but prior to the whole phase prior to that, and after you've left your home, if you're in a hospital, you need from, ranging from low flow oxygen therapy to high flow oxygen therapy, which Prashant was talking about. So this is a big area. And this is an area of priority for us as well as the governments. And if there are teams with solutions out there who are listening to this, they should definitely reach out to us. And I think more long-term also areas like mental wellness. We are looking at areas where, sustenance and livelihood can be promoted. So if anybody has an interesting platform which could help, all our migrant workers who have now been displaced get back to work, matchmake them with employers. Those are all priority areas for us right now, and they should definitely reach out to ACT.
Right. Dr. Nachiket Mor, ACT has also tied up with the, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, Badwani Foundation. How has that really helped in terms of expertise or other areas?
So the way the process works is that there are clearly volunteers from a number of sources that come together, and there no distinction is made where you are from. If you have a passion, if you have an interest, you join and contribute your mind. Also, you can come in as a donor. ACT is able to accept donations from multiple platforms, and some of these organizations have come together in that way. And the third, is also the force multiplier idea, because many of these foundations and organizations are working with the government in different capacities. And they become aware of us, we become aware of them. And if there is something we can do together, because, they are already involved in something and we have maybe a solution, or maybe they have a problem that we can incubate a solution for. But these are all the conversations that are taking place with them, but with a wide group of both donors as well as experts.
Right. Prashant, we're approaching the end of the conversation, and I can't help but ask you, the COVID-19 was a game changer for the Indian startup ecosystem, the investing ecosystem. We are going to see the impact of it play out for the rest of the year. What could the other risks be going forward? Are you worried at all about the geopolitical tensions between India and China, because Chinese investors also play a crucial role in the Indian startup ecosystem? Just as a veteran investor, if you have to kind of highlight the concerns, the risks, opportunities at this point, what would you say?
Yeah, just focusing on COVID and what ACT has been able to do. One of the other things that we've tried to do is, be supportive of our startups by, coming up with playbooks on how to deal with tough situations, and our hope is
uncertainty.
How to deal with that uncertainty, and our hope is that what they have learned from dealing with COVID actually will be a great support and great capability that they would have built to deal with future situations. It could be pandemics, it could be like what you're saying, a situation where there's a capital crunch in this country, right? Because of various situations. So I think COVID, we are helping our startups build resilience and helping them kind of prepare for a situation where, this is a long battle that they might have to, be part of, and both the economy, the economic impact of this, they'll have to kind of work with that and deal with that, and also their internal challenges that come from, the new norm or the new reality that they'll have to face with. So we are doing our bit, and this is another initiative that's part of ACT, where we are trying to put these best practices and help our companies kind of build that resilience for the future.
Right. On that note, Prashant, Abhiraj, Nachiket Mor, thank you very much for joining us for this special panel on ET Now. Hopefully, ACT grant will not be a one of its kind 2020 story, but it is something that will continue to support startups going forward. And we look forward to more conversations on the innovative ideas, the force multipliers that will come out of this one of its kind global alliance. Thank you very much for talking to us on ET Now.
Thank you, Chandra, for talking to us.
Thank you, Chandra.